Do you mind if I turn on the radio? Do you like music, or am I that boring? Who doesn't like music? Is it just me, or are you dodging the question? I don't really like music for one. I don't believe you. No, really. Check my car radio. There are no saved stations there. And what about the guitar? Not mine. And you're the most boring person I've ever met. And a liar. You hurt my feelings. However, have you actually met that many people in your life? You got me there. Julie scrolled through the station until she stumbled on one that was playing the holiday tunes. Now that's what I'm talking about. Now we'll be bored to death, accompanied by holiday songs. Hooray! You always keep on grumbling. You must be at least 60 psychologically. And what about you? Around 8? 15? Wonderful. Tell me, have you ever thought about having a family yourself? I can hardly look after one set of limbs. How can you expect me to take care of kids? Why drum state to kids? 2 adults can also be a family. Start with a relationship, maybe. Why do you think I'm not in one at the moment? Just a hunch. Am I wrong? No. It still hurts a fair bit. You're going to celebrate New Year with my mom, after all, not your girlfriend. We all have our reasons. Your house is a bachelor's den. You don't have to live here. You don't have to live together, do you? And you have a foul character. Like you're one to talk. You're a liar, a bore, and you grumble like an old man. Hey, calm down here, young lady. I mean, even that doesn't stop millions of insufferable people around the world to find their partner. And you're still single. Are you, by any chance, homosexual? I'm not, and cut it out already. Do you think gay people can find themselves a partner? Who knows? Maybe you just didn't come out of your closet yet and live in conflict with yourself. I'm just a loner. Let's stop at that. A girl broke your heart, so you decided to ditch relationships as a whole. I never had a girlfriend. Never ever? Never ever. Even at school. At no point in my life. And have you ever thought of having one? Are girls pets to you? I mean, it's not that I don't like the prospect, it's just that I haven't met the right one. Yet. The right one for your standards? The right one for me. What about you? Is your fiancé waiting in Nuremberg? I'm not that different from you in that regard. I've never had a boyfriend. Even at school? Don't be mean, I hardly attended school, so yeah, even there. Why? Well, Grandma homeschooled me when I was living here, so I started going to a normal school when I was 13, after my parents took me back. I was expelled after a couple weeks. You joking? I wish I was. That sounds like an interesting story to hear. I nodded off in geography class. They don't expel you for that. Well, while I was asleep, my body went out to the window. The classroom was on the 2nd floor. I fell and broke my leg. And even that didn't wake me up. I walked 2 bus stops worth of distance before my parents found me. I stared at Julia in horror and disbelief. That's exactly the same look my teacher gave me back then. I spent a month in the hospital with a broken leg, and the principal kindly asked my parents to not send me back to the school. Their staff didn't exactly know what to do in situations like that, and so on. I was also apparently a bad influence on my classmates, and should have been sent to a school for deviance. I continued homeschooling from that point. No, from that point on, I was taught by strangers. I really was probably worried sick about you. I can imagine how it looked. A schoolgirl in a tattered uniform walking down the street, dragging a broken foot with a blank look in her eyes, like something out of a zombie movie. I could understand why they felt, but it's still painful. After I moved away from Grandpa, my only hope was to be able to go to school like everybody else. I expected to make friends, to exchange little messages with them in class, to hang out after school, go camping, or watch movies together, to gossip about boys and have sleepovers. Excuse me. Maybe I would even get my first love letter there, and they would ask me for a prom dance, and maybe I'll even have my first kiss. Feels weird to talk about that now. It's all in the past, but I can't shake off the thought that I've missed something really important. Something that I won't have a second chance at in my life. Well, there's no guarantee everything would have gone according to your plan anyways. I don't have any warm memories of my classmates. I spent a good 11 years with them. This is very true for normal schooling, yeah. And the girls, they can't even be scarier than boys. They're extremely jealous. They would ruin your life without flinching just because you're smarter or more well-liked by boys. Maybe it's a blessing you avoided all that. It's better to regret something you've done to regret something you wished you'd done. A cheerful jingle changed to a slow dance tune. Wanna dance? The word slipped out of my mouth before I could think. What did I just say now? Why I wanted to disappear from embarrassment. My cheeks were so hot I could probably fry stuff on them. I do. Her face was as red as mine, but we'd both feel much more relaxed if I just ran into the forest. And didn't come back. Ever. I held out my... She looks entirely lifeless. He does not look any better. I held out my hand. It was shaking so hard it was almost uncontrollable. Julie didn't seem scared or confused. She gently touched the palm of my hand, and the shaking subdued. I hope you won't regret that. This is my first time being this intimate with a girl. We're so close. I can make out every single hair on her head. Julie didn't look up at me, but I could feel the warmth coming from her face. See? You don't need to go to school to have your mountain dance. Yeah? It's not the only place to look for friends. My voice was unnaturally low and silent. She was also speaking quietly, but I could hear her every word. That's why you're friends with an old hermit? And, well, it just turned out that way. We're both not the most experienced in the matter, but you should know it's hard to find friends, or your most important person. I bet a lot of guys would have loved to go out with you. You're rather beautiful. You're not ugly yourself. Well, thank you. But that's not it. What do you mean? You're not looking for people who need us. We're looking for the ones we need. It makes no difference if someone is interested in you when the feeling isn't mutual. Many of you would argue that, but you won't. Your more wafting from your hair made you feel a bit dizzy. I miraculously avoided stepping on Julie's feet. Dazzling success for my first time dancing. Felt like we moved around the same spot for eternity. And I'd love to do it some more if only I hadn't discovered that the song was long over. With it, the ephemeral atmosphere of sincerity. We exchanged awkward glances and got back to decorating the room. After finishing with that, we returned to the first floor. Julie went straight to the fridge and poked her head inside like she owned the place. Well, it's not much. Aren't you expecting guests? Just a single guest. She's not coming here to have a cup of tea, you know. It's like you have anything to go with tea anyways. And I think you just don't know how much a normal pizza needs. Cheapskate. Where'd you get that from? And there's enough to feed 8 people there. Alright, I'll think it's done. Just don't disturb me. I gladly promise not to. I won't interrupt her or even go inside the kitchen while she cooks. Well, what was I supposed to do in the meantime? I thought of working, but quickly decided against the idea. It'd be wasteful to disturb the order of my workplace. I grabbed the book with the Tales of the Norse instead. This book is a collection of stories on existing creatures. The mediator is to be tasked with refreshing the knowledge every 50 years. Is it a bit too serious for a preface? Did you say something? Do you know who the mediator is? No? What about it? Nothing, but just curious. The first creature in the book was the forest witch, Yoma, living in a hut deep inside the forest. She used to eat human children, but the great Osh later prohibited that, threatened to drive her out of the woods. The witch reluctantly agreed and started catching beasts and birds to use their blood and vitality potions to prolong her life. There was a drawing depicting a slim lady with a very keen look. Her age was impossible to identify. The witch looks like Baba Yaga. A lot more beautiful though. Like who? Baba Yaga. You know the crone who lives in a hut with chicken legs? What's that nonsense? You look at me like I was an idiot. Come on, she's a ghost fairy tale. Have you really never heard of her? Was I supposed to? Parents gather children with her all the time. Mine only told me you're the forest witch. I have a couple questions for your grandpa then, but I can understand you feared her so much. This stare would make the blood freeze in one's veins. And we have your grandma to thank for that. Drawing her in such a way was completely unnecessary, which was even scarier in the old version. The old version? Grandma didn't make up these stories. She took them from another book. It was quite bad, so she decided to rewrite it. I flipped through a couple more pages. Leshy and Doomboy were continuing the list, but I already knew of them thanks to the Slavic folklore, so I put the book away. I can't seriously believe in all that. Have you read the part about the forest spirit? The houseful one or the water one? About Osh. I decided to leave that magnificent experience for later. Well, it's your loss. By the way, which salad should I make? Why even make them? I don't eat salads. And why have you bought the vegetables? I eat them raw. More useful that way. You eat them raw because you're bad at cooking. As you wish. And you can't be the only one thinking about yourself. What if your mom likes salads? Does she? I don't know. I don't remember. Ask your grandpa though, and I'll answer right away. Ask about your grandpa though, and I'll answer right away. It's just he's my grandpa, not yours. And don't forget you've promised to tell me everything about him. I don't even know how you met each other. You didn't ask. I'm asking now. You picked me out of the street. Saved from starvation. I thought you found yourself a decent job after you left home. True. When work ran out at one place, I would get reassigned to another town, and then to another, and so on. I'd visited half the country, and then I got here. I was promised bad limitations and good pay, but I was given neither. As soon as I got here, the facility went under, and a lot of people were left without a job. But strangers like me had no place to turn to. I had been renting an apartment for some time, looking for a job. And I found my suitcase before the door. It turned out my landlady was renting an apartment of her wandering son. Well, he came back. I got my suitcase, but all my money stayed in his pockets. It's quite ironic. Was I to keep my job, I would have been among these woodcutters. Nothing ironic about it. What happened next? Did Grandpa find you then? Almost. Spent a day at a bus stop. I was exhausted. The whole world turned against me. I was in the cold land, without a job, without a place to live, without any money. I gave up. The cold was too strong, so when the night fell, I started looking for ways to warm myself. I burned random trash and my own belongings. It helped, but not for long. When I ran out of things to burn, I stumbled upon Pop's workshop. I didn't care for what I did was right or wrong. I simply broke in. Pop's found me in one lying on the floor near the fireplace. He gave me two options. Either he reports me to the police, and they take me to a place where they feed you with cow poo-poo, as he put it, or he teaches me his craft and help me out around the workshop. I gave my answer almost immediately. Grandpa amazes me more and more. Does he remind you of that incident regularly? He never once did, actually. Couldn't understand why he gave me a chance in the first place. Every time I asked him, he told me that I should just live my life and don't sweat the small stuff. We drank together once, and he went overboard, so much he could hardly sit upright. Papa probably doesn't remember this, but before he knocked himself out, he managed to say that he was very happy to find me in the smoking area that morning. And at Pioneer Mall. We're very similar in that regard. It's hard for us to share our real problems. Now I can understand some things without words at least. I think you're a very good person. Hey, are you crying? It's the onion. Come on, get it out. She was staggered and used the table for support. What's on? You alright? Yes, I just feel a bit drowsy. Maybe you should lie down. I'm fine, don't worry. Okay. Tell me more about Grandpa. I had to bail him out of jail once. Somehow I thought it'd be a good idea to wander around a mosque in Santa Claus costume on New Year's Eve. It turned out one story after another while Julie was cooking. As it turned out, my laugh became much more lively the last couple of years, all thanks to Pops, who would laugh as getting his tooth beaten out, or at the dove droppings on his truck's windshield. He always stayed positive and managed to cheer me up. Sometimes it was like he could read my thoughts, and that's how good he was at understanding me. I, on the other hand, only knew the things he deemed worthy of telling me, and these things mostly had to do with his granddaughter. The rare moments of sincerity always came in his drunken slumber. They were always unexpected, and I didn't know how to react. Julia listened closely, like she relived each story with me, and when I got tired of monologuing, she spoke up. So what's up with the guitar? Is it yours? And whose if not yours or Grandpa's? You have no other friends after all. Don't touch my sore spot. It makes it Pop's then. Don't lie, he never even played a musical instrument. It's impossible to hide anything from you. I'd love to hear you play. I haven't touched it in a while, so your choice, the guitar or potatoes? Potatoes, if it involves eating them. Peeling. Just give me a moment. I picked up the guitar, blew off the dust, tugged on the strings, fiddled with tuning keys, did everything to waste time. I didn't want to make a fool of myself before Julia. Come on, play! I pressed down on the strings. My thumbs screamed from pain. Blisters from regular practice were already gone, so it hurt like the first time. I tried to keep it simple and just plucked at the strings, but that was not enough for Julia. But that was enough for Julia. She relaxed and swayed with the melody, mumbling something under her nose. I was calm for the first time in a while. I felt her eyes on me from time to time, but when I looked up she was doing her own thing without looking my way. The house was filled with the scent of boiled potatoes and fried chicken, the scent of my childhood and early days. Julia noticed me sniffing around. "I'm bringing tears to you. That's the smell of edible food. It's very nice to meet you, edible food." That would fill my mouth. Something that I haven't eaten in a very long time. I'm gonna went away for a while because of recent events, but it was slowly coming back now. Julie was keen for my interest. "Wait for a bit. Your mom will arrive soon. You'll share this meal with her. Did you learn cooking back yourself? Grandma taught me. Tell me something about her. Pop keeps his mouth shut all the time. She was cool. Could seemingly do everything. Cook, draw, sing, and how did she meet Pops? That's a funny story. Grandma worked as a driver. One day he was tasked with driving a mayor's daughter to another city. And this daughter was your grandma? Yes. Grandpa suddenly stopped the engine during the trip. Well, broke down. Polar night, not a single soul in the vicinity. Horrible cold. Grandma panicked and he just replied with, Laborers will drive by in the morning. They'll pick us up. But we have to keep ourselves warm, and if we fall asleep, we'll freeze to death. So they just sat there all night. Come morning, he told her the car was absolutely fine. Grandma complained to her father after it was over, but he didn't have to think twice. Just used his connection to throw Grandpa in jail. Grandma took a liking to the driver, so he begged her father to release him. It's called the Stockholm Syndrome. Don't act so smart. And, did they release Pops? Not immediately. Father told her that she would need him to ask once more in 2 months. Then he'll do it. Sounds legit. Of course. Grandma came back in 2 months with the same request. Then they... Not listening, I'm talking is drying out my damn throat. Of course, Grandma came back in 2 months with the same request, and they built this house and lived together until Grandma died. Knowing Pops, this story is quite easy to believe, but I still don't get why he keeps on getting in trouble all the time. Does he think those things up? I mean, does he ever hesitate? He certainly doesn't hesitate at that time. He knew it would happen because he'd seen it in a dream. He knew that he'd be destined to meet a girl he would love till the end of his days. He also knew that no harm would come from him stopping the engine. He knew that it was necessary to spend a couple of months in jail to get that girl would bail him out. He knew everything. You can't take dreams that seriously. You just haven't seen prophetic dreams. You're romanticizing it. Julie kept on swaying and almost fell. Good thing the fridge was behind her. What's wrong? I don't feel so good. Tired? Don't know. Here, sit. I checked the oven and led Julia by the hand towards the sofa. I'm so dizzy. A gust of wind shook the windows. And there's the promised blizzard. Are you an old lady reacting to weather like that? I'm not sure. It feels like the strength just left my body. And keep it together, please. What would I say to Pops? I need to rest for a bit. Get a wink of sleep. I sat on the floor beside the fireplace. Sure. What was the thing I needed to read about? Oh, the forest spirit. Okay. Found the right page without trouble. Treasure was much larger compared to other creatures. For some reason I started reading it aloud. Osh is the forest guardian spirit in the form of a bear. In ancient times, he, the son of god Anna, disobeyed his father and descended upon earth, tempted by local food and women. As a punishment, Anna forbade him from ever returning to the heavens, and Osh settled down in the forest, where the things to feast on were plentiful. By taking human form, he could visit villages to get food. Once in a century, he picked a woman, and took her to the forest. One night under the full moon was enough to bind his chosen to Osh, so she would guard the northern forests alongside him. Osh knows the animal language, see the future, and wields healing magic. All of his abilities can be passed on to his children. Nowadays, Osh lies in an endless slumber, guarding the entrance to the Shadow Realm. However, the forest is never left unguarded. At the start of every cycle, the bear marks a new guardian, the forest spirit, and they keep watch until they are no longer capable of it. Until they're no longer capable. So just like with a job without pay that you can't ditch. Why do you think that Pops is said guardian? He could see the future. If it wasn't him who stood up for the forest 10 years ago, then who? Besides his and Grandma's stories, that's just something you really want to believe in. There are a lot of coincidences, almost enough to convince me, seriously. And you only believe in what you see, don't you? I believe so. And we just have to visit that place. Julia let out a big yawn. Just go there, see for ourselves. You can hardly keep your eyes open. I'll just lie down for 10 minutes. I'll be good as new. Without realizing it, Julia reduced her voice into a whisper. Sleep until Pops gets here. But I don't want to. She acted like a spoiled kid. As you wish, I'll go get you a blanket. I went upstairs. Having someone to take care of was unexpectedly pleasant. There had been a single soul in the house apart from me for a good while, and I was sure that I had no need for company. But Julia's appearance did not bring any discomfort into my life. Quite the contrary. It's hard to imagine living without her, and to think Pops will take her away soon. I wanted the time to stop. I loved to play the guitar for her. While she would be dancing and singing along, I talked about anything in the world. We'd decorate the tree together again. I'd read her books. I concluded that letting her go was an awful idea. Perhaps asking her and Pops to join the celebration would be a better one. The more the merrier. That would surely make the atmosphere less awkward between me and my mom. Though they certainly deserve their fair share of time and privacy. And I should also have a ta-ta-ta conversation with my mom, probably. I went back downstairs to ask Julie if she wanted to stay, since she cooked enough for a platoon of hungry soldiers, but you couldn't possibly eat that much with just 2 people. But she was not there. She was neither beside the fireplace, nor was she in the kitchen. There weren't many places where we could miss each other in this house. She was gone. Like it was lying on the floor, and her outside clothes were where she left them. Thought so. I grabbed my coat and ran outside. It was so strong it made me stagger. My face and neck were tingling from the cold. They were barely recognizable footprints in the snow, and I rushed after them before they could be covered in snow. The problem was, I couldn't see Julie anywhere. Where could she go in such weather without her warm clothes? Then it hit me. Another fit of sleepwalking. I didn't know why the hell was she venturing into the forest there at night if her initial goal was to get ahead. The farther I got from the house, the harder it became to see the prints. It might have been due to dim light, but they started almost looking human at some point. I already lost track of her, and she was following some beast instead. Though on me as the pants vanished altogether. I continued at random, scooping up snow with my boots and drowning in the snow. Freeze it if I don't find her. The forest creaked, and I thought the woodcutters were supposed to be in another direction, but the creaking of fallen trees were echoed from everywhere. Howling cries could also be heard nearby. Wolves. Those were always moving packs. They speed up. My fingers were red, and it was hard to move them. I couldn't even unclench my fists. I put my hands all over the place to keep a little warmth still left in my body, but no one made things worse. It was hard to tell how far I went from the house, but I couldn't return there alone without Julia. I was ready to cross the road and search on the other side. I felt a push to my chest. I looked around but couldn't see anything. My vision went completely dark. Some sort of sigil burned up right before my eyes. It took me a moment to process the sigil was carved into the tree. A chain reaction followed, and all the surrounding trees lit up at the same time. Another moment, and the night sky was shining with waves of light. It was as bright as daylight. I didn't have time to think, so I sprinted into the depths of the forest, following the chain of lighting up trees. My legs were barely moving at some fly. I felt like they were glued to the ground. A howl, resounding, earth-shaking howl. I was paralyzed. It was difficult to even breathe. One moment my heart was pounding due to fear. Next it stopped beating for a couple of seconds. Every heartbeat was pulsing in my head. I was just standing there, unable to take a step forward. I wanted to run. I wanted to get away. Stop. Every heartbeat was pulsating in my head. I was just standing there, unable to take a step forward. I wanted to run. I wanted to get away from this forest. Survival instinct was screaming. It was the only right choice. The only thoughts of Julia made me stand still. She was there somewhere. She probably probably very cold. The place swarming with wolves and bears. God knows what else. She needed me. Pop's voice echoed in my head. If you bear no ill will, you have nothing to fear. As if it was my permission to move, I made a step forward, again and again. I battled against snow and wind, while blurry shadows moved at the edge of my vision. One of them was especially slim and horrifying. I felt the keen eyes of its owner on my back. I was finally able to get into some sort of a clearing. Julie was there. She stood among the marked trees, her back turned to me. Her head limped to the side, and I was able to see her face, her bear's eyes shining with ominous, otherworldly light. Alright. Depending on how far this goes, I might stop here. Actually, no, I'm gonna keep going. Screw it. Her head limped to the other side, and I was able to see her face, a pair of eyes shining, ominous, otherworldly light. What the fuck? Julie's body floated upwards as if she was a puppet and someone was pulling her strings. The sky was pulsating, and my eyes hurt as if I was looking at the sun for a long time. Her arms spread aside, and another howl hit my ears, much harder than the last, as if it were waiting for a signal to fuck a raven shot to the sky. I didn't know if my nearly blind eyes were deceived by the changing colors or by the dark stains, but I saw the form of a bear towering over the forest, instilling fear and awe. I sat in the snow, motionless and empty. I didn't feel cold or fear. I couldn't feel the passage of time. My eyes were glued to the painfully pulsating sky, and Julia's hair fluttering in the wind. I could hear the chains clanging, feel a voice coming from the woodcutters were cleaning the forest en masse. There's going to be another commotion in town tomorrow, and all the newspapers will write about the spirit of the forest. The spirit that was right before my eyes. The bear's form suddenly became clearer, and I was able to mark out fur on its giant paws, along with incredibly long claws. They're gone. My voice was barely audible, but they gave me just enough confidence. They're gone! So, leave her be. Bear turned its head towards me. Please. We just stood there for some time. I couldn't reliably tell if it looked at me, or if it was checking if the woodcut machines were really gone. Then it howled for the third and final time, and the sky lit up with all sorts of colors once more. I went completely blind for a good minute. When my sight returned, I was standing in the middle of darkness. The aurora was nowhere to be seen. A full moon and a myriad of stars were decorating the sky. The tree stilts were all gone without a trace. Julie was lying in the snow. I rushed to her side. My hands were completely numb, so I pressed my lips against her forehead instead, freezing cold. For a split it seemed like she was lost forever. Then she gently grabbed my sleeve and whispered, "So cold." I picked her up and ran towards the road without thinking. It was better than drowning in snow again. I didn't feel the weight in my hands. I didn't feel fatigue or the wind. All I could think was that Julie was cold. She could freeze to death. I didn't have time to feel pain. I couldn't remember how far I went, and how I was able to find my house. I came back to my senses only by the time I put Julia on the couch and covered her with a blanket. Here beside the fireplace, I was able to feel all the cells in my body again. They all was screaming for help, and that scream was so intense I wanted to join them until the pain would be gone. Julia looked ghastly, her face pale, her lips blue. She was hardly breathing. Her cheeks took a long while to gain their pinkiness. I crashed to the floor by her side in hopes that my limbs would return to the form faster that way. When Julia was asleep, she didn't look like an adult at all. There was a little girl that didn't want to go to sleep in her nest and listen to the howling wind and the clang of a hammer instead. What would have happened if I didn't find her? How much time had passed? What's up with this forest? What were those runes? I thought before that Julie was sleepwalking because she wanted to come back home and see her grandpa. Now, I was sure it had to do with the forest guardian. But it only spawned more questions. My head was spinning. A shadow following me in the forest. Who did it belong to? If the fierce spirit of the forest existed, did the same apply to the water spirits, the house spirits, or the forest witch? Why if the forest needed a guardian if it didn't pick someone actually living here? Me? Why Julia, who was thousands of kilometers away? Thoughts interrupted each other, expanded and got louder and louder until Julia groaned weakly. Hey, you awake? How long was I gone? I'm so sorry. How do you feel? I feel a bit strange, but why do you ask? What's the time? It's past 11. Why didn't you wake me up? I was Too busy with something. My head is swimming. That's such a terrible nightmare. It was the first time, but it was much weaker before. What was your nightmare about? I was there with Grandma. She was leading me through the forest by the hand. There was an aurora borealis and also you. Such a weird dream. Yeah, sometimes you see the strangest things in there. Forest Witch was there as well. Did she scare you? No, she wasn't trying to harm me. Rather, she wanted to help. Is there anybody else? I didn't know. Maybe those eyes were just a fruit of my imagination. I can only see the bear, and Julia, because of my temporary blindness, decided to keep what happened a secret from her, for now at least. I wouldn't have believed it if I wasn't told something like that. She also needed to rest. Didn't anybody come? I shook my head. You should have been here long ago. We have to go on. What if something happened on the way here? I'll do it right away. Are you sure you're alright? Yeah, just a bit hungry. I smirked and went outside. The wind disappeared as quickly as it started. The air was still. The snowflakes, it seemed, could dance through it endlessly without touching the ground. It was warm. I had an unread message from my mom. A familiar car plate number belonging to her supposed driver. Everything clicked. You old bastard. I'll dial my mom's number. She answered almost immediately. Yes? I already knew the answer to my question, yet I couldn't help but ask. Where are you? I'm really sorry, but it seems like I won't make it. We're stuck in the middle of the forest, and I think it'll take a while. The car sank in the snow. Called for an evacuation vehicle, but who knows how long it will take for them. It's New Year's Eve, after all. I felt a yoke tightening in my neck. A yoke I was quite eager to get into, to be honest. Are you okay? Yeah, don't worry. The heater is running, and I'm on my way to close. I also have some hot coffee and good company to go alongside it. Yeah, right. Julia poked her disheveled head from the doorway. Can we have dinner? I'm dying from hunger. She never growled in confirmation. I had a yeah, sure. But I'll still be busy here. I'm still busy here. I gestured with my head. Julia nodded understandingly and went back. You have a female guest? Something like that. She has a sweet voice. Can you try to explain your location? I'll go pick you up. It's unnecessary. I don't know my way around here at all. We've already called for the evacuation team. It'd be real awkward if it arrived here and we were gone. Can I at least pick you up? Seriously, drop it. We spend the evening with your guests, me and you. We'll have plenty of time later. I didn't reply. I had no desire to press any further. I didn't want to leave her in the forest either. Is she a good girl? Seems like it. I'm glad. A moment of awkward silence followed. Well then, hey Mom. Do you like salads? We've been talking for roughly 20 minutes. I realized that only when I looked at the watch. Julia sprung up when I came back. What took you so long? Did you talk to Grandpa? No, I only talked to Mom. You've been talking to her the whole time? Yeah. And? Everything's fine. She squinted, looking at me straight in the eye. I'm serious. Well, that's wonderful then. I can only shrug to that. I guess. When will she come? She's not coming. What? But don't even ask. Everything's fine, but she's not coming tonight. Okay. We still have to call Grandpa. He's not coming as well. Julia fell silent. Confusion flashed through her face at first, but then came enlightenment and embarrassment. Great. It seemed like we wouldn't need to be explaining anything. Tick tock, tick tock. The wall clock reminded us of the time. It's almost 12. And we still haven't had dinner. Sorry about that. It smells delicious. She proudly puffed out her chest. I know. Too bad we won't be able to taste every dish. Why? Fireworks. Or did you forget your promise? Right now? Julia nodded. She was quite serious about that. Just don't expect too much. They're pretty old. I grabbed the pack of fireworks and Julia took glasses and a bottle of champagne. We went outside. The treetops were engulfed by moonlight. A full moon. After that spectacle in the forest, the stories our grandfather's book didn't seem comical at all. They sure resembled fairy tales, but no, I myself took part in it. I've already forgotten how beautiful this place can be. You can even see all these stars. How much until 12? 1 minute. I was destined to be madly in love with this girl, and I was happy that I decided that before the bear magic made that choice for me. Go. I placed the firework into the snow, lit up the fuse with trembling hands, returned to Julia, fumbling through the snow piles. She handed me a glass of champagne. I'm so glad to share this moment with you. I looked at her completely speechless, her cheeks flushed from my intense stare. I was lucky to meet her. No matter how long we knew each other, she'd still be as cute, smart, and bright as loving towards her grandpa in the winter holidays. I never imagined for the future. Couldn't see myself surrounded by family, but all that was so easy with her around. Almost too easy. I only needed to close my eyes to picture our future kids and our dog. Oh, damn it. Evenings we'd spend beside the fireplace, walks in the woods, Mom and Julia sharing their moments' secrets, Pops coming to see his great-grandchildren, all that came to mind. As well as the giant tree we'd spend hours decorating, taking breaks for hot chocolate and cookies. I saw her smile. For that last part, I didn't even need to close my eyes. I wanted to look at it forever. And if this ancient firework will go off, there's going to be at least one little spark. That was not very loud. A loud clap rang out. A fire rocket sprang into the sky and shattered into a million bright pieces. You can see every single one of them in Julia's eyes. Come on, make a wish. I didn't even have to think for long. If there was a single person that would enter my world and stay there forever, it should be her. The granddaughter of a weird old man. Cute, funny bear girl with a bottomless stomach. Gulped my champagne in one go. Stay with me. Julia blinked in surprise and used that opportunity to draw her close, steal a kiss from her. This was the brightest day of my life, and if every day after this will be the same, if I would be able to see her smile, I'd love to relive this life a million times. My laps didn't part until the last flash left the charred fireworks box. Just stay with me at any cost. I kept kissing her until the red and green sparks no longer lightened the sky, and she was finally able to catch her breath. Really? Of course. This is really cute. I like it. Oh my god. I really like this. It was cute. These are all really good. Oh god. This was definitely something I would have used for Christmas. Oh, the later holiday season. I miss you so much. I wanted to ask you so many things. You have plenty of time, lass. The most important part is that you're nearby. We'll meet soon. Yes, but... I just can't wrap my head around it. Why did you sell the house? And what's wrong with that? It's our house. You told me our family would live here for centuries to come. Remember how you told me that I would raise my children and grandchildren here? I do. Then why? Happy New Year, Julia, my girl. Finn. Nice. I like this game. It's really cute. I'm glad I played this. It was really fun and cute. A one-off thing. Nice. Maybe one-off, depending on how editing on my wonderful, absolutely loving PlayStation is, but I'll see you all later. Have a great day. And have a good year.